was so scared.
The mass stabbings of May 26, 2017 changed Portland. 2 people died. A third was hurt but survived.
There was help that was needed, and I tried to help.
Headlines about white supremacy and mass violence shoved a grieving city into a global spotlight.
You all stand together, and you stand tight, and you be vigilant.
Free speech or die, Portland. You got no safe place. Liar. You're not the only black person on Max. Liar.
I'm the news. You want the real news?
Why'd you try to go in there then?
Because they invited me in.
And the man at the center of it all rarely shied away from that spotlight.
I'm a white supremacist. Why'd I vote for Bernie Sanders?
His name is Jeremy Christian, and this is the mugshot police sent out the morning after the attack. At that time, the Portland native was 35 years old, had already served time in prison for robbery, and according to a psychological evaluation requested by his attorneys, he had never lived on his own or held down a job for more than a few weeks. Christian's last known address, in fact, was his parents' house in North Portland. The day after the stabbings, a photographer and I went there. No one answered when we knocked, and we shot this.
Neighbors tell us, indeed, Jeremy Christian does live there along with his parents and at least 2 of his 3 grown brothers. They say the family has been there for decades. He also tells us that Jeremy tends to keep to himself a lot. When he does talk to neighbors, the conversations tend to be a little bizarre. One neighbor told me he was talking to him at length recently about the possibility of alien life.
Revolution, you're not a revolutionary, you got your face covered.
Christian, according to the evaluation, had become obsessed with the right to free speech. It was one of several things he yelled about at a protest weeks before the attack.
This is my soapbox! Portland, Oregon, the Northwest!
This protest in Southeast Portland was meant to replace the 82nd Avenue of Roses parade. It had been canceled that year over rumors that Nazis planned to march with reps for the Republican Party.
None of us out here are Nazis.
People on both sides of the aisle showed, and they all distanced themselves from Christian because of this rant.
I'm a revolutionary. We brought all the Semitic monotheist child molesters over here. I'm a Viking. We brought them over here. Come on, we got prior land claims. Constitution, that ain't.
Police eventually escorted Christian from that protest. A photo taken by local photographer Doug Brown appeared to show him giving a Nazi salute on his way. So in this psychological evaluation submitted in November of 2017, months after the stabbings, a Seattle-based psychologist, Dr. Mark Cunningham, the one hired by Christian's lawyers, writes Christian deliberately espouses beliefs that he knows will disturb his audience, adding he relates to others by preaching to them, to educate them. This, he wrote, compensates for feelings of inadequacy and avoids the improvisation demands of reciprocal conversation. Christian is quoted as saying he chose not to participate in a society where he was marginalized. The evaluation goes into detail about Christian's time in prison. He was convicted for a 2002 armed robbery during which a Portland police officer shot at Christian, hitting him in the face. Christian spent much of his 8-year sentence, the evaluation notes, in solitary confinement. And during that time, Dr. Cunningham writes, Christian considered suicide. He's been arrested several more times since then. These are all the mugshots the Multnomah County Jail has on file. Regarding his personal life, the doctor noted Christian had never married or sustained a romantic relationship. He wrote Christian told him, I did not want to date. The doctor writes about a number of sort of conspiracy theories and bizarre beliefs that Christian described, including strong feelings against monotheism and circumcision. Then he wrote, notably absent from Mr. Christian's fervent espousal of beliefs and opinions was any semblance of assertions of white supremacy. Quite the contrary, the report reads. He asserted that persons holding beliefs that one group, race, religion, or political system is superior are the fundamental problem with fascism, communism, and monotheism, leading to intolerance, war, and genocide. Remember, this was written by a psychologist hired by Christian's defense attorneys. Prosecutors in this case also requested their own evaluation be carried out by a separate team of experts, but at this point, they're not disclosing whether that indeed happened. In fact, a rep for the DA's office told me, no comment.
Get out if you don't like free speech.
At the time of the stabbings, reporters dug into Christian's Facebook page and found several posts that seemed to advocate for white supremacy. On it, he called himself white and a nationalist for Vinland, a 10th century and short-lived Viking settlement in North America. He also called Timothy McVeigh a true patriot and featured a meme advocating for removing mosques because of 9/11. And yet, in the report, Dr. Cunningham wrote Mr. Christian's only apparent sense of superiority is a self-perception that he recognizes fallacies, conspiracies, and hypocrisies that others do not.
Yourself! Take your mask off and debate!
The evaluation also notes Christian's provocative behaviors become more pronounced when he's been drinking.
No one wants to hear you threaten or terrorize other people.
That was the case when Demetria Hester encountered Christian. The night before the attack, according to the report, Christian had been drinking sangria and smoking marijuana. She said he boarded a Max car yelling about Muslims, African Americans, and other groups. You can hear him make threats in this cell phone video posted on YouTube.
It's like we got a Christian or Muslim bus driver, I'll stab you too.
Hester said she told him to stop. Minutes later, she said he followed her off the train and threw a full Gatorade bottle at her head. Christian, she said, then left, and police didn't track him down.
They just try to calm him down, but they they don't know each other.
The next day, Christian had been drinking again and was buzzed. Dr. Cunningham wrote Christian boarded the Max to do his free speech thing, yelling, "You don't like free speech? Move to Saudi Arabia and see how that works. Get your head cut off." Shortly after that, the report notes Christian dropped his bomb, announcing, "You guys want to hear my plan for world peace? If you want world peace, all you have to do is get 1 billion Christians and 1 billion Muslims to kill each other. Then all the Jews will kill themselves because they will have no one left to manipulate." We should point out there is video of the stabbings that has yet to be released. Of course, witnesses told police in the moments leading up to the stabbings, Christian had aimed an angry, racist rant at 2 teen girls, both black, one wearing a hijab. In the report, Christian said he wasn't paying any particular attention to the girls. He did remember pushing one of the victims of the stabbings in the chest. Then he said the lone survivor of the attack, Micah Fletcher, grabbed him and pushed him down onto a seat multiple times, telling him to get off the train. The report says Christian thought he was about to be beaten up by several men and recalled this vulnerability as feeling like prison. The doctor writes Christian's account is in line with what's in that unreleased video. The end result of that confrontation, 2 men lost their lives. Their names are Ricky Best and Talisha Namkai-Meche. Micah Fletcher was gravely wounded, but survived.
And I mourn the loss of those 2 very brave individuals.
Since his arrest, Christian has had multiple outbursts in court. This one aimed at Demetria Hester last spring.
I'm the victim. You're on video macing me. Liar. 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 You're not the only black person on Max. Liar.
Records show he's also caused problems in jail. He's been disciplined for fights, threats, and the use of a racial slur toward a deputy. The evaluation, commissioned by his lawyers, concludes with the assertion that Jeremy Christian exhibits symptoms implicating a number of psychological disorders. But it notes a formal diagnosis would take more time and work. If convicted of the charges tied to the Max stabbings, Jeremy Christian could face anywhere from 30 years to the rest of his life in prison.